students, welcome to Ideal Coaching Center. Today we will cover the story Big Brother by Munshi Premchand. We will study a bit about the author. Munshi Premchand, 1880 to 1936, was a versatile novelist, short story writer, and dramatist. He is considered to be one of the foremost Indian writers of the early 20th century. His works include more than a dozen novels, around 250 short stories, several essays, and translations. Munshi Premchand was known for his interesting storytelling and use of simple language. Some of his more famous stories are Premasram, Rangbhumi, Kafan, and Atmaram. Goran was his last novel and it is considered to be the finest Hindi novel of all times. Now, let us start the story. There was an age difference of 5 years between my big brother and me. So we get to know that the author had a big brother and he was 5 years elder than him. However, he was only 3 years senior to me in school. Both of us started school at the same time. So both of the brothers started going to school at the same time. Yet the big brother was studying only 3 standards above than the author. Since he wanted to lay a solid foundation, he took 2 to 3 years in each class to do complete justice to his studies. So the big brother used to take 2 to 3 years for each class to complete. What we do, we usually complete each class within 1 year. But the author's big brother took 2 to 3 years to complete a single class, a single standard. Since he wanted to have a strong grip on the subjects, the foundation, after all, should be strong for the edifice to endure. Here, the word edifice means a large, impressive building. So, this author is telling to grow into a bigger person with huge wisdom, you need to have a strong foundation. You need to learn the basic concepts. At that time, I was 9 and he was 14. He had the right to supervise and instruct me, and I was expected to abide by his orders with demure. Here the word demure means without objecting or hesitating. So when the author was 9 years old, his older brother was 14 years old. Now, in case of elder brothers and sisters, you should know that they give us instructions and orders, and the younger siblings just follow them, right? So here, similar case is happening. The author is following his older brother's instructions. My brother was studious by nature. Most of the time, he would have a book open in front of him. So the big brother was very good at studies. At times, he would relax by scrawling pictures of birds, dogs, and cats in the margins of his notebook. I have seen my brother write a name, word, or even a sentence up to 10 or 20 times. So, when the big brother would get leisure time, he would draw pictures on his notebook and he would write names or words or sentences up to 20 times. In contrast, I had no interest in studies. To sit with a book for an hour was an ordeal for me. Here, the word contrast means a clear difference between two things or people that is seen when they are compared. And here the word ordeal means a very unpleasant or difficult experience. While the author's elder brother was very good at studies, the author, on the other hand, had no interest in studies at all. He considered that sitting with a book for an hour was a punishment. Given a chance, I would slip out of the hostel and go to the field to play marbles or fly kites with my friends. Of course, these acts of mine were met with great disapproval by my brother. His first question would be, "Where were you?" So, whenever the author would get a chance, he would run out of the hostel to play in the field, to play marbles or fly kites on the field. But his older brother did not like this kind of mischiefs. It was always the same question in a similar tone, and I always had the same reaction: silence. I failed to understand why I could not tell my brother that I was playing. So the older brother would ask the author the same question, "Where were you?" in a similar tone every time, and every time the author used to stay silent. So the author did not answer his older brother that he was out there playing. My silence was like an acknowledgement of my guilt. Now here, the word acknowledgement means an act of accepting that something is true. So the author also felt guilty for playing outside. So he used to stay silent in front of his older brother. My brother would begin, "If this is your way to study English, you will be doing it for the rest of your life. One cannot learn English so easily. You have to give your days and nights to master the subject." So the older brother used to scold him a bit. Even then, you would only acquire a bit of the language. Do you know, even great scholars can't write proper English, much less be able to speak it. You should learn from me. I don't attend shows and carnivals. I never go to cricket and hockey matches. All I do is keep studying all the time, and even then it takes more than 2 years in each class. How do you expect to pass if you don't study? You're simply wasting our father's hard-earned money. So the older brother used to scold the author a lot. He used to tell that you should study English more rather than going out and playing, and you're just simply wasting their father's money, similar to what our parents usually say when we go out and play. Such a scolding would inevitably reduce me to tears. I would feel low and think of running home from school. However, after an hour or so, I would gain control over my emotions and resolve to study hard. So, after getting a big scolding from his big brother, the author used to cry, and he would feel so sad that he would want to run out of the school. But after some time, he would think that, "Oh, I will study hard this time." I liked to draw up a schedule. I would leave out the word play from the timetable and write it thus: get up at the crack of dawn, freshen up, eat a snack and study. From 6 to 8 o'clock, English, 8 to 9 o'clock, arithmetic, 9 to 30 minutes past 9 o'clock, history, then meal time and school. Here the word schedule has a meaning, a plan that lists all the work that you have to do. So our schools have a routine, our schools have a schedule for us, right? We have to go to school within a certain time. We will have classes for a certain time, maybe say 40 minutes or 30 minutes, and then we will have a meal time or a tiffin break for a certain time. So here this routine is called a schedule, and here the author had a schedule too. He made a whole routine of what he wanted to do during the day. After school would be geography from 4 to 5 o'clock, grammar from 5 to 6 o'clock, then a 30 minutes walk followed by English composition at 30 minutes past 6 o'clock. Then dinner, translation from 8 to 9 o'clock, Hindi from 9 to 10 o'clock. From 10 to 11 o'clock was time for miscellaneous exercises and then sleep. So the author had a full-fledged routine drawn out for him for the whole day, and it did not mention the word play, right? However, as we all know, it is one thing to draw up a schedule and quite a different one to follow it. I could not follow it from the first day. The vast green playground, the cheers and the football field, the speed and flurries of the volleyball game beckoned me irresistibly. So here the author is telling that he couldn't follow the schedule he made for himself from the first day itself. When he sat to study, the noises of the kids running in the fields and of the volleyballs, they called him. Here the word beckoned means to show somebody with a movement of your finger or hand that you want them to come closer. So when your friends are out on the field and you're not on the field, you're like studying or doing something, your friends will call out to you like, hey, come on, let's play football, right? So here the volleyball and the fields are calling out the author to come out and play. The moment I reached the playground, I forgot everything. My resolve, my timetable, the books that strained my eyes. When it was time to return to the room, I was always filled with dread. I would try to avoid him as much as possible, hoping to get away from his sermons and scolding. However, he always spotted me. So, when the author used to return to his room, he was always afraid of his big brother. That he would ask, where were you? And he would give a full lecture on how he should study and not play all the time. The author used to avoid his big brother, but his big brother would always spot him. The annual exams came, and even this year my brother failed. I was promoted and was first in my class. There was now only 2 years difference left between us. So the annual exams came and the author's big brother failed this year. The author was promoted and he became the first in his class. So there was only 2 years of difference. That doesn't mean the age difference, that means the standard difference, right? So if the author was studying in class 4, the big brother was studying in class 6, okay, right? I felt a little proud of myself. My brother's influence over me would soon be over. I began to play freely in the playground. One day I had spent morning playing stickball and came back at lunchtime. So the younger brother felt proud as he became first in his class. So the author one day played whole morning stickball and came back at lunchtime. He said in a sharp tone, I know you have passed this year and even topped your class, but I also see that you are putting on airs. Let me tell you, even great men live to regret their pride. It is easy to pass an exam, but it is really difficult to develop your mind. So, the phrase putting on air means to become haughty. Here we see the big brother is scolding the author again, saying, I see that you have grown wings and you are flying as you have become first in your class, but I should tell you that it is easy to pass an exam, but it is really difficult to develop your mind and your thoughts. Think of Ravan and how such a great ruler met his doom solely because of his pride. He added, "You have been promoted by one grade. However, when you reach my class, you have to study algebra, geometry, and literature in depth. You will realize how tough it is." So, the older brother is giving the author the example of Ravan. All of you know the story of Ravan, how he was such a great scholar. He had so much of wisdom and knowledge about great things, yet his kingdom was brought to ashes just because of his pride. So the older brother is saying that when you come to my class, you have to study so many things and you will realize how tough it really is.